Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about primary school. This is the new topic in the IELTS speaking exam that appeared in May 2021, and this topic is going to be in use till August 2021, and after this topic will also be used from September till December 2021. So if you're planning to take your IELTS exam during during these months, then this video is for you. So the first thing I'd like to touch upon, that's vocabulary, topic-related vocabulary. So when you talk about primary school, you can also paraphrase it as elementary school, and that's an American word. Then there are co-education, there is co-education or mixed schools. Then they can be single-sex schools, meaning boys only or girls only. There are also boarding schools. That's where students live and study. Positive school culture, that's a nice collocation. Homeroom teacher. So in the beginning of the day, there is usually a homeroom period. And during this homeroom period, the teacher discusses the things that needs to be organized throughout the day. Now, you can also mention experienced or inexperienced teachers, which taught you in elementary school. Then glee club, that's quite an advanced expression. It means a choir class. Usually it's an extracurricular activity, so it's not a core course, but a thing that you can do after school. And it's a choir lesson or a choir club. So it's called glee club. Okay. Then, oh, I'm sorry, the Russian, my Russian letters did not appear properly here. So now, fully equipped classrooms. Then the word stationery, that means pens, pencils, things like that. Ballpoint pen or ink, right? So you can call it just a pen, but you can say a ballpoint pen. So we didn't use feathers when we were writing and ink. We just used ballpoint pens when I was studying in primary school. Then chalk, well, nothing special, but it's just a lexical item that belongs to this topic. Then there is homework club or after school extension program. When you're in elementary school, sometimes you stay after classes and you do your homework there, and there is a special teacher who supervises you. Okay, now then there is a subject that is quite important in elementary school. It can be called handicraft. This is usually for boys. Home economics. This is for girl. Woodwork. Well, that's also mostly for boys. Then CDT, crafts, design, and technology. That's a subject in British school, CDT, crafts, design, and technology. Then satchel, that's a C2 lexical item. It means a school bag. Well, we don't normally normally use these satchels now, but a couple of decades ago, they were still in use. And if you talk about your childhood, well, you can mention that you were using satchels or you were not using them. All right. So the questions, there are a few questions that were reported. So the first question is, what did you like to do? What did you like to do most when you were in primary school? Well, you can say that I enjoyed learning through play or going to the school canteen. And here you can describe some food. We'll try to prepare just 4 or 5 lexical items describing food that means uncommon food. And you can say that, well, luckily we didn't have any seafood like squids, octopuses, or some people prefer octopi, and stuff like that, venison. So venison, that means deer meat. Right. Or any other types of food that you would like to mention. For any topic where you start speaking about food, you can mention 3, 4, or 5 lexical items that are advanced, and this will increase your mark in lexical resource. So what I liked most was experimenting, exploring, and creating with a range of materials. We're studying arithmetics and acquiring numeracy skills such as subtraction, division, multiplication, and adding. Then, I really liked homework club, after school extension program, then playing rhyming games and letter games. Okay. On top of that, you could mention handicraft, home economics, woodcraft, CDT. We talked about this already. Then being engaged in outdoor learning activities, learning nursery rhymes, collecting herbariums. And well, then here is a golden opportunity for you to use some names of trees. So I used to collect herbariums in my primary school, and our typical home assignment was every autumn was to collect leaves from, and depending on which trees, you can say oak trees, maple trees, poplar trees, whatever, birch trees. So prepare 3 or 4 more or less advanced names of trees and mention them here. You can mention them in many other topics. I was walking along the park surrounded by coniferous and deciduous trees such as oak trees, maple trees, poplar trees, junipers, and so on. Okay, so then you could use some grammar here, like a cleft sentence. As far as my memory serves, what I liked most was, okay, so next question. How did you go to primary school? And I think, well, this question, it's very easy to show off and to demonstrate also some lexical resource here. So, well, you can say on foot. Well, why? Because as my elementary school was within the spitting distance of my block of flats, where it was a stone's throw away, right? Then within the immediate vicinity, in close proximity to, okay, I got there on my own or by myself or by car. My mom or dad used to give me a lift to school. My mom dropped me off at the school main gate, and then it took me an infinitesimal 5 minutes to get to school. Or instead of infinitesimal, you can also say a scanty, a meager, or a minuscule 5 minutes to get to school. Okay, these are just some ideas. Then, well, you can say my school was within the walking distance, within the immediate vicinity of my home, in close proximity to my home, something like this. In speaking, you can also say within the spitting distance or a stone's throw away. Okay, then I got there by public transport, and then you can say, well, I used to commute to school. And there were some, you can describe traffic jams, traffic congestion, the rush hour, the peak hour, and there was bumper to bumper stop and go traffic. There was no end in sight, so I suffered a lot. I used to go by taxi sometimes, and it cost a pretty penny because, prices for taxis were exorbitant. There's an extortionate or exorbitant. But, well, I had to shell out, or my parents had to shell out, even though it was daylight robbery. So you can use this vocabulary to talk about how expensive it was. And you can also say that when the weather was not very nice, so when we had inclement weather conditions, such as overcast skies or torrential rains, which are quite common in my hometown, for example, then I used to go by taxi, and it cost a pretty penny, and so on. Right? So I used to go by school bus, and we were packed like sardines. I went by bicycle. Okay. Then you could say I studied in the second shift, so there were no traffic jams. And well, you can say it depended on the weather. So again, when there was torrential rain, overcast skies, when well, I was afraid of getting drenched to the skin or getting soaking wet, and so on. I used to go by taxi, even though I lived within the immediate vicinity of my home. You could use lots of advanced vocabulary if you have this question at an exam. I would love to get such a question at an exam, because I can say, like, I can use lots of vocabulary. Unfortunately, this is part one, so it's just maybe 20 seconds maximum, and 2 or 3 sentences. Well, if I had such a question at an exam, I understand that this is not natural. It doesn't sound very natural, but this is the way I would answer. This is the way I answered at my exam, and I scored a 9 in speaking. So I believe this strategy works. You just use a lot of idioms and advanced vocabulary, or idiomatic expressions. Idiomatic expressions doesn't necessarily mean idioms. So I would answer this question like this. When I was knee-high to a grasshopper, I used to get to my elementary school on foot. Although my school was within the spitting distance or a stone throw away from my home, I would always leave home at the crack of dawn as I was fond of sauntering and contemplating picturesque views. In fact, there were some wonderful coniferous and deciduous trees growing within the immediate vicinity of my home, such as privet bushes, junipers, poplar trees, and maples, to name but a few. Okay, you cannot say more than that. I could also talk about taxi and how I got to school when the weather was not very nice. But I think after this, I'll just be stopped and the next question is going to be asked. Okay, um, I'm utterly convinced that this is a band 9 answer. Well, then the next question is, how do you like your primary school? Well, and here you can say, well, I had a lot of fond memories there, or I made lifelong friends with whom I still keep in touch whenever we have a moment to spare. Or you could mention some kind of subject like CDT or whatever. PE, mathematics was not my cup of tea. All right. Then it had positive school culture, friendly environment, experienced and friendly teachers, um, advanced teaching methods, fully equipped classrooms, and you can use inversion here. Not only did we have blackboards, but we also had lots of chalk. Right. Well, there's some irony in it. It means we didn't have enough equipment, but still. I liked PE or physical education, music, and arts, or you could use your subjects. I was good at maths. I was good at some kind of subject. To be brutally honest, that's a nice collocation. To be brutally honest, what I liked most about my primary school was the lunch break in our canteen. Okay, cleft sentence, and then use some food vocabulary here, depending on what you know. And another one, I wasn't a keen pupil. Unfortunately, I wasn't a keen pupil. Okay, so you can use some of these ideas here. Then what did you do in your leisure time? Or Americans say leisure time. Um, right, so well, you can say, I went to the library and read books. I used to be a bookworm in my formative years when I was a child. Then I played in the yard on the playground. So in the yard, there was a sandbox, a swing, a seesaw, and a slide. I played football with my friends. I played chess and checkers. And then there are some children games. Well, I know three, so I mentioned them. I played tag, hopscotch, and leapfrog. Okay. I rode a bicycle. I played dominoes. I went skiing and skating in winter. All right, then you can mention I helped my parents with the household chores. I did my homework. I attended a glee club, if you remember this, the choir club. My parents and I would visit my grandparents in the countryside, and then you can describe the countryside, talk about farm animals or whatever. So yeah, back in those days, I was a bookworm, so I used to go to the library. My primary school years were a blast. So I had lots of fun because of those memories. Yeah, so these are the expressions that you can use. Okay, and that's it. So, well, thank you for watching. Please put thumbs up and write in the commentaries that, well, you find this video useful. So I will know that you like it, and I'll create more videos for you about speaking and maybe some other aspects of the IELTS exam. All right, so, and subscribe to the channel if you still haven't. So thank you for watching and see you in the next video.